right, look, so this video is 100% going to get me labeled as a Putin apologist or Russian agent.
And then he proceeds to promote pro-Russian lies.
In 1990, there was a famous meeting between James Baker, who was the US Secretary of State, and Mikhail Gorbachev, who was in charge of Russia. And in that meeting, which we have the fucking transcripts for, Russia agreed to support German unification, and the United States and NATO agreed to no more eastern expansion of NATO.
Interesting. But that never happened. I don't ask you to believe me. Believe Mikhail Gorbachev, the president of the Soviet Union at that time.
Today, people ask me why it was not stipulated in the treaty that NATO must not expand to the east. The following should be taken into account. NATO and the Warsaw Pact existed at that time. What was there to fix in a treaty? The question did not even arise back then. In other words, it is a myth that you were betrayed by the West regarding NATO's eastward expansion. Yes, it's definitely a myth.
So let me get this straight. The basis of your argument is the agreement that never existed. But then you actually dismiss an agreement that was signed between Russia, the UK, the United States, Ukraine, on nuclear disarmament of Ukraine, the Budapest Memorandum, where Russia promised to respect Ukrainian borders in exchange of Ukraine giving up on its nuclear. Russia broke that agreement, but you are more interested in discussing the agreement that never existed.
Later in 1999, the US led the bombing of Serbia. Now, basically, the United States and NATO bombing Belgrade for 78 days in a row, all with the express intention of breaking up that country, which was a Russian ally. And again, even though a direct ally of Russia was attacked and had their country completely fucking torn apart, they didn't respond. Putin took power, let it slide.
Naturally, in the best traditions of the Russian propaganda, you need to dismiss the actual genocide and ethnic cleansing happening in Serbia at that point in time. Also, why are you pretending like Russia didn't respond because it was such a nice guy? Russia couldn't respond. It was on the edge of economic collapse. The military was badly maintained, and Russia was involved into another murderous war in Chechnya. Russia fully obliterated Chechnya, torturing and assaying kids and elderly.
Then in 2004, the United States continued its expansion towards Russia by adding Latvia, Estonia, Bulgaria, Romania, Lithuania, Slovakia, and Slovenia, all in violation of our treaty.
I mean the treaty that never existed. Got it.
The United States openly and directly participates in the overthrow of Yanukovych. Like, we didn't even hide that we were doing it.
I'm going to presume he and his audience are not going to believe Ukrainians who actually participated in Maidan Revolution, nor would they believe the evidence. They would rather believe the Russian propagandists.
Directly and openly overthrew a government that wanted to remain neutral. And we know we did it for a fact because Russia actually intercepted the phone call where American agents and the American diplomats were discussing who we were going to remove and who we were going to put in power.
The phone call in question discusses the preferences of the United States of a president in Ukraine. Just because America discusses their preferences, it does not necessarily deny all of the other evidence. It proves that processes in Ukraine were fully democratic.
But do you know what Russia did in response to that? Fucking nothing, besides ask the United Nations for sanctions. No attacks, no invasions, just sanctions.
Is that a joke? Russia starts the war in 2014. I know you guys learned that Ukraine existed in 2022, and now you are big experts. But the war started in 2014. That's when Russia annexed Crimea and started the war in Donbas region.
You can't expect to be able to violate treaties for 30 years, deploy missile systems into every country surrounding Russia, and then when you're about to do it again in a country directly bordering them, a country where half the citizens are ethnically Russian.
22% of Ukrainians are ethnically Russian. You're a little bit confused on the difference between knowing the Russian language and being ethnically Russian. How does it feel like being a useful idiot for Russia? I wonder.